So I always wanted to make a channel mascot, and the first way I tried was doing a bunch of PNGs with different mouth position and poses, and then animating it in Premiere. And even though it was super simple, it was very tedious for each scene, so I wanted to try a better way. So I made myself in Blender, and it was god awful. First things first, the model sucks. I didn't use any textures, and the animation was just super stiff because I didn't really have a good bone rigging system. So I just packed my bags and walked away from it, and about 2 months later, I wanted to give it another shot. So that's what we're gonna do in this video. This is gonna be more of a general overview than like a specific tutorial, but I did watch a lot of tutorials, I learned a lot of good stuff, and I'll put those in the link below. So there's multiple ways to go about this approach. First, you can just make a bunch of shapes and then slowly combine it where you get the basic shape of your object, but I'm gonna go with the skin modifier route. I got this idea from Joey Carlinos. In fact, I pretty much copied his tutorial, but it helped a lot. So I took a basic plane and I merged it all into one vector point. Under the modifiers, I added a skin modifier, and then on top of that, a subdivision modifier. And then in the edit mode, I'm able to press E to extrude all the points, and it automatically makes the mesh for me. And then if I want to like control the thickness of something, I would control A. So I'm just blocking out the shapes. I'm not going to go too into detail since he's going to have clothes over him, but I just want the base proportion down. Now that I got the base down, I'm going to apply all the modifiers, and then I'm going to duplicate them, and then I'm going to start chopping off his limbs, and this is just going to be like for the different clothing. After that, I'm going to use the solidify modifier, and that's just going to thicken up my model. It works great for planes, but if you have like planes underneath those planes, it's going to have a lot of weird artifacts. And then I pretty much did the same for the shorts. I duplicated the base model and then solidified it. And then for the shoes, I'm just gonna block it out, and I'm just gonna keep it a very simple shape. And pretty much I'm just gonna use a subdivision modifier and call it good. And then for the glasses, I duplicated the head, and then I'm just gonna delete some planes, and then I'm just gonna block out the glasses, and then use the solidify modifier again, and then bam, we have our glasses. For the nose, I kind of want it blocky and cartoony, so it's just like a basic square, and then I just added a little bit of loop cuts to it and just modified it. For the hair, I watched Yan Sculpt's video, and pretty much what he did is he made a bunch of paths, and then those paths are dedicated to an object. It's almost like the skin modifier, but a little bit different. And then he took those paths and then he kind of just ran them along the head, and pretty much I'm just gonna duplicate a bunch of it till I get a full head of hair. This is by far probably one of the most tedious part about this modeling project, but at the end I like the results, and it gives it a nice like crispness to the hair. For the clay texture, I followed Southern Shoddy's tutorial, which helped me out a bunch. Right now I'm setting the base material. First I added a fingerprint texture, but it was broken up because I forgot to unwrap all my objects. Make sure you do that in your edit mode. Now that my model is unwrapped, it should look a lot better when I go back to texturing. And now you can see the fingerprints, and pretty much what we're trying to do is we're trying to create bumps where those highlights of the fingerprints are. So we're just creating a normal map for that. I just followed his tutorial. I don't really know exactly what's happening, but here's the nodes. I applied all my modifiers, and then I'm going to add a displace modifier, and then I'm going to go into textures and create a cloud texture. Then I'm going to go back to my displace modifier, and I'm going to apply that cloud texture to the displace, and then this will just give it like a nice little clay look to it. I duplicated that clay material, gave it different colors, and applied it to my model. For the mouth, I created a 2D texture in Photoshop and then imported it as a plane in Blender. This is just a quick way to make a mouth. For the eyebrows and facial hair, I just duplicated the hair model and just copied and pasted all throughout his face. I wanted the facial hair to be patchy, so that's kind of why I did this. Now that I finished the modeling section, I'm going to set up the lighting, and I'm just going to do a studio lighting setting with a fill light, a main light, and a backlight. And then I'm just going to play with the lighting colors just like that. So it's looking good so far, but I want to add graphics to his shirt. So I took one of my old artworks, and then I selected where I want it, and then I just assigned a new material with that image texture, and there we go. So I'm pretty much happy with the model, so I'm just going to play around with the world lighting, and then I made an armature for it. Once I got my armature, I had to do a little bit of weight painting, and pretty much I would select every bone, look where it was affected, and then paint on the red area where it would be affected the most, and then get rid of all of its influence where it shouldn't be. And this was just a very tedious process, but I eventually got it to how I liked it. It's not perfect, but it'll do. I wanted some secondary animation, so I looked up Nita's tutorial, and essentially she used bone dampening modifier. So she created a bunch of bones, and then each bone would kind of have a delay using the bone dampening modifier. So I duplicated different strands of hair and just kind of hid it within my actual hair model, and that's how I got all the secondary hair wiggles. Now that I got the model complete, all I had to do was do a little bit of animations, and we're all set to go. After 3 days of trial and error, we finally made Chris Gar 3.0. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Go ahead and check out this video over here.